Be mad at me for not coming out with a video for a little over 3 weeks, but I've been dealing with college stuff, exams, projects. It is my final semester, so there's a lot that's going on. And as much as I've been wanting to come home and work on the LS3 swap, we have been waiting on parts for quite a long time. But I think this is the weekend that it all comes together and gets reinstalled into the car.
The question will be is, how many times will we have to take it back out? 0. We'll see. We'll see. I got a feeling we're going to put it in and we're going to take it out. And then we'll put it in and we'll be lucky if that's the time, the magical time right there.
So to name some of the parts that we've been waiting on, I got my transmission rebuilt by my friend Eric down in Orlando. It got a new reverse gear because that was all chipped up. It got all the new synchros and bronze forks and shift pads, all that stuff that I'm not really sure. I just trusted him to do all that. So that's good to go. We got a Monster Stage 4 clutch and flywheel. The flywheel is the 18-pound variant. I know you can choose between the 18 and the 28-pound. Of course, we went with the lightweight one to get more happy revs out of the LS3. And let's see, what else? I mean, we did tinkle. We did toy with the car a little bit over the past couple weeks. Nothing much really changed outside of just getting these parts that we needed. So we did think it would be pretty cool to have a switch panel for the ignition, the starter, fuel pump, and all that in the car. But that would require us redoing all of this wiring, and we figured we might as well have the LS in the car and have the ability to start it before we even mess with any of this wiring, because who knows if we mess something up, and because of that mess up, it doesn't allow the engine to start. So that will be probably something that gets tackled once this is all said and done. Let's see, I know I'm gonna be missing some things that we did. I cleaned up the engine bay a little bit while the engine was out, just so it can look nice and pretty. Now I did have to order an alternator bracket and a power steering pump bracket, which is obviously not on the car because we have the engine on the crane right now. But we are using the dampener that came with the engine, and because it's a lot smaller width-wise compared to the GTO dampener, we needed these brackets for the belt to line up. And on top of that, I don't think there's much else to do other than just get this sucker back in. You ready to tackle this, Drift Dad?
I guess so.
Well, I guess before we even get this thing back in the car, I'll overview you guys on how we're gonna do it in the exact same way that we did to take it out. So we'll piece these two together, throw them on some dollies, roll it underneath the car, use the crane to lift the front end of the car up really high, slide it up underneath, lower the car, put the crane back on to the engine, lift the engine, and get it all mounted up. That was a handful. It might be a little bit more difficult than what I said, but let's do it.
Dice is on the beat.
Now we have the S13 up on all 4 jack stands, the crane attached to the engine with the transmission on the back. Good thing we have this balancer to keep everything nice and even in terms of the level. Now we're recruiting my sister to help us jack the crane up while we guide the subframe onto its mounting position right there.
I'm an idiot. I hate myself.
So because the engine is kind of off, you can see how the transmission hole, it doesn't really line up. We wanted to test fit the drive shaft just to see how bad the angle was in between the transmission and the differential. And when we were going to slide the drive shaft in, we couldn't get it to go in with the, we couldn't get that input shaft to go into the trans. So Drift Dad recommended that I get a mallet, a rubber mallet. So he's saying
Dumb
it's
Dad.
his fault.
Dumb Dad. You guys are. I'm changing my name now. I'm not Drift Dad anymore. I'm Dumb Dad. Okay.
No.
Dumb Dad. I'm just. Ugh.
So we tapped it in a little bit, and it did kind of get stuck.
Yeah, it's stuck. Maybe just beat it in the rest of the way and just be done with it.
Yeah, I don't think that will work.
So because I'm such a booger-eating moron, Alan and I pulled the engine back out of the car, the transmission on it, and I'm gonna look at the damage that I caused. I guess it's one of those things that we've told you guys before. If you want to know what not to do, watch this channel, and I guarantee you'll learn something new every time. So Alan, are you mad at me?
No, I'm not.
I would be mad at me if I were you. I don't know if y'all can see it, but see that ring that's on the inside on the shaft? That was sitting out, actually out flush with here, and Alan talked to the guy that rebuilt the transmission, and he said try to file off some of the burrs. It looked like there were some burrs around that ring, and so I worked on that quite a bit, and it looked like it was a little better, so I figured, well, maybe if we just got a little mallet and applied that to it. And I guess that's probably the #1 rule of working on a car is never beat on something that shouldn't be beat on. So Alan, I told you that when we put the engine in, we were gonna take it back out. I did this on purpose so I could prove to be right again.
So we were able to get the tail shaft housing off, and I can show you just what went wrong. So this is, I guess, the drive shaft bearing. It's supposed to sit right into here.
It's a bearing or a sleeve?
Sleeve, bearing, same thing. So it slips in right in there. This was what was sitting there originally. But this drive shaft will not fit in there whatsoever. So I guess I have to order a new one of these.
You know, I'm not so sure that we wouldn't have had to pull this out anyways.
Yeah,
Because
no.
I don't think there was any way we were going to get this in had we not even beat it in. We would have had to still pull it out. We still would have had to take the that back piece of the transmission off right there, because this was obviously a problem.
Yep.
So maybe I'm not the drift dad idiot or dumb dad, whatever you want to call me. Maybe I'm not quite that bad, but anyways, we learned something, and that's actually very important. So anyway, so what's next? What do we do?
Order the parts and I guess wait even longer.
All right, here we are again. Since we were working on this last time, we got a new drive shaft bushing, put that in. Everything fits now. I still don't know exactly why that other drive shaft bushing was giving us problems. Maybe it was just cockeyed a little bit or something, but nonetheless, we got it in, and we're gonna put this bad boy back in the car again. And hopefully, this is the last time we have to put it in, at least until we get it driving and Alan blows it up.
We figured there's some spots in the transmission tunnel, like right there, that need to be hammered in a little bit because we can't get the subframe to mount up onto the U-bolts on the frame itself. So
And who said
coming out?
Who said that we'd be taking it in and out, in and out, in and out?
Well, I don't
That
think
was the second attempt.
I don't think people thought that it was going to go in initially. They know us. It's going to take multiple. Probably going to have to come out another time after this.
It had to be in crooked before. It had to be. There's no way it was going to fit in. Basically, when you put the engine in, it's kind of at an angle, so the transmission's off to a slight angle, off towards the passenger side. And that's what's driving us nuts. And then we found out that there's just no clearance in there to get it in. So we're gonna have to make some modifications and beat on a few things.
So out the engine goes again.
Yep.
So there's this little tab on the back of the transmission here that was getting in the way. But Drift Dad went ahead and beat the crap out of the transmission tunnel. The interior is gonna need to be repainted now. You can see how it bulged out right there. But that's nothing that we can't do. We can paint. Painting's easier than, I guess, doing
And you didn't
metal
even
work.
say thank you. Well, you're welcome.
So lo and behold, Drift Dad was right in his assumption that we should just hammer the crap out of the transmission tunnel.
You doubted me?
I did. But the LS3 and T56 is sitting nice and straight now. Nice and even in the transmission hole. And the drive shaft seems pretty happy with the angle that it's seeing. Now what we're doing, well, I guess it's my fault because I didn't realize that on T56 transmissions you have like a dust cover that prevents any debris or rocks getting chucked up into the flywheel, like right there. So we're lifting up the old LS1. We can take off the old dust covers and we're gonna see if we can somehow squeeze them on, even though the transmission's already on the backside. And we figured while this thing's already up in the air, we might as well throw it on the stand, because it's been sitting on our little makeshift stand for the longest time. But yeah, this is exactly what I need, this little dust cover. So last night, Drift Dad ran over to AutoZone, picked up some starter heat wrap because the header sits pretty close to the starter, and I'm pretty sure I destroyed one starter when we first got this car, just from the heat that was emitting from the headers. And then when he was reinstalling it, he cross-threaded the starter hole.
I'm an idiot. But I only went up about 2 threads and then, yeah, I'm an idiot. Okay, I admit it. I'm an idiot.
We spent all last night trying to figure out, okay, well, we could helicoil it, but we're not the best at helicoiling, and the last time we did that, we wound up completely destroying the hole in the BRZ when we were throwing the starter on. And I mean, to take the engine out would just allow us to have a better chance of helicoiling it correctly. So this morning I ran over to Ace Hardware and picked up this little threaded insert right here that we then put through the top here. Use an Allen to just slowly thread it down because we know the top has good threads. And as soon as it started getting really tough, we just applied pressure and forced it. And because this little boy right here is steel and that's aluminum, we know it was going to re-thread it, or I guess chase the threads a little bit.
We chased the threads.
Yeah. We took about maybe 5 passes through. Then we made the starter bolt really cold. And it seems to be working, so we dodged a bullet here. Yeah, Drift Dad was beating himself up pretty bad last night.
But then I kept forgetting the advice I gave you, right?
What?
We're learning. We're learning. We're going to screw stuff up, and we're going to figure it out. And you know what? We screwed it up. Oh, I screwed it up. But we figured it out, and we're going to be all right. We just got to remember next time we pull that starter off, we got to be very careful putting it back in.
Yeah. So lesson learned from here, and it's a pretty rookie lesson to be learned that we should have known from the get-go. Always hand tighten your bolts no matter what. Because that's what happened. You just got a little bit...
I got a little bit too aggressive.
Yeah. And here we are again the following weekend. I don't even know where I left you guys off when I last filmed, but we have made a lot of progress, and I think today's the day that we're gonna crank this baby over. But as far as what we've done today, well, and yesterday, and like I said, I don't remember where I left you guys off, but we pretty much have everything accounted for in terms of connections. I have my crank reluctor wheel converter box plumbed in. Well, not plumbed in, but plugged in. Because the LS3 is I believe a 58X reluctor wheel, while the PCM, aka the engine's computer, reads at a 24X, which is native to the LS1. You need the engine and the computer to communicate, so that box is needed. But that's in. I believe everything else is in as far as connections, important connections are concerned. As you can see, we are running into a little bit of an issue with this intake. This is the Siki LS3 intake that I had ordered quite a while ago. And it doesn't seem to be fitting with my relocated power steering pump. So we're probably gonna need to get a longer connector or a different type of, what am I looking to say here?
Intake tube.
Yeah, an intake tube. And yes, I don't have a pulley on there because this is a new pump. And when I went to remove the pump, or not pump, but the pulley off of the old pump, I ended up chipping it here. So I have a new one on the way. But that's not going to stop us from just at least turning this thing over and hearing it run for about 5 seconds before we cut it. But before we do that, I need to load up a bass tune that I've received yesterday from a tuning shop down in Daytona. I told him basically everything done to the engine, as well as the computer that we're using from the LS1. And Dennis over at Redline Tuning, I believe that's the name of the tuning shop, sent me over the tune. So I just need to load it up, and then I think we'll be good to start it. Because we have had the car disconnected for basically the past, 3 months now, I have the battery charging right up. So I'm going to go ahead and flip the kill switch for the first time and hopefully have nothing blow up. Drift Dad, you do the honors. I'll blame you if something goes wrong.
So what are you gonna do?
Just flip the kill switch.
Okay, what if I smell fumes right now, so what if it like blows up?
No, it won't.
Which way? That way?
Yep, to the right. You scared me. So that's good. Now, you want to turn the key on the ignition. Just don't turn it all the way to start. Just turn it to power on. Nothing.
Nothing.
Forgot the ground, of course.
Doo 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 doo. Yeah, Dum Dum here just kind of forgot to hook up the ground from the battery, so sorry, you're not really a Dum Dum.
I am a dum-dum.
Well, it takes one to know one, right? So, okay, that's on. Now, this, turn this on.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Still nothing. The heck? Turns out we had a bad kill switch. So Drift Dad went ahead and clamped the two wires together with vice grips, and I guess now I can load the toot up. So fast forward yet again, another weekend. I know this is a long and drawn out process, but what can I do when I have finals and graduation right around the corner? But anyways, I was a little scared this morning because I tried turning over the engine, at least with just the starter, to try to build some oil pressure, and sure enough, I was seeing 0 coming out of my AEM gauge right here. So instead of just dry starting it, which would be a really bad idea, and as opposed to buying a $250 engine pre-luber that basically allows you to force oil into the engine to build up pressure before you turn it over, a couple of my friends had recommended that I take my oil filter relocation off, shove oil, well not shove, but pump oil into all of the lines. Also, I took off the alternator. It's back on now, but there's an oil galley port right underneath there that I then pumped oil into. I took out the spark plugs, turned it over a couple times, and sure enough, I had like 50 PSI of oil pressure. And I just got done hooking up the fuel lines, plugging in the spark plugs, and I think she's ready to start. And we have my mom here to watch too.
I got better things to do.
Oh yeah. This is what we've been doing for the past 3 months.
Yeah.
Not spending time with you, out here in the garage, slaving away.
I've been spending time with her.
Oh.
Yeah, only when he needs something to eat.
So we'll go ahead, turn her over, and hope that nothing blows up. Where's the wood? Knocking on some wood right now. So I'm getting direct power from my oil pressure gauge, so let me go ahead and just throw that back on there. And let's see.
It's not even kicking in. It's not even trying to kick in.
Okay, I know this is just completely getting out of hand, and it's just sad that it's taking this long to get this S13 running, but I finally got it started. So it turns out that the crank reluctor converter box that I'm using from Lingenfelter right here was not receiving the right amount of power. Well, it was receiving 12 volts, but because I had it tapped into that fuse panel over there, whenever I would go to start the car and turn it over, it basically kept power from running to that box, which is needed to convert the signal between the LS3 and the ECU that I have. So I went ahead and just hot wired it to the battery here, and sure enough, I got the signal that I needed, and it started right up. Of course, after I had received a new starter that I just installed earlier today, because for some reason, the starter that I've been using decided to crap out. Well, at least the solenoid on it that allows the starter to make contact with the flywheel. So I got a new one in. I still need to go ahead and finish wrapping it with the heat wrap that I have, just so I don't kill this starter. But Drift Dad is on his way home from work, and he should be here any second now. And while he walks in through the garage to go inside, I'm gonna be hiding in the 240, and as soon as I see him, I'm gonna turn it over, start it, and he's gonna be shocked. Because he did think that there was something else wrong with it that we didn't know or didn't know how to fix. But I got it working, and I just can't wait to see the look on his face. All right, crap, he just pulled up in the driveway, and I think he saw me, but he's not gonna expect it. Turn the kill switch over.
Oh, garbage. Garbage. Wow, look at that. Cool. So what did What'd you do to get it started?
Well, it was the stupid converter box. It wasn't getting power when I would turn the key over. So I hot-wired it, and that was the problem. Of course, after I put the new starter in. But I figured I would surprise you.
Nice. Can I hear it again?
Yeah. It dies out a little bit for some reason. Oops. Yeah, it's not wanting to start nicely, but we got it running.
Yeah, good.
High five for that, right?
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming with getting this thing started, but finally. Now, I would really love to give you guys a full walk around of everything that's been done, because I know it's been very choppy in the video. But right now, I actually need to be getting on my way back to Orlando, because tomorrow is my college graduation. And I don't really want to rush it, because I do want to overview everything that we've done, at least up to this point, with it starting. So I'll see you guys in a couple days.